Hi, greetings. It's Vanessa-Mary, Wellbeing Healer. Welcome back. This is the Leading with Heart, which is my weekly podcast, shining a light on the real lives behind family-owned business. So in each episode, we are taking an honest and heartfelt look into the personal journeys, the emotional challenges, and the leadership lessons of those navigating succession planning, building a legacy for their loved ones, looking after their well-being and their business, and overall relationships in their life. From the kitchen table stories to boardroom breakthroughs, Leading with Heart is a space for reflection, resilience, and taking a deep dive into the relationships that shape our decisions. So, as you know, my name's Vanessa-Mary. I am a wellbeing healer, and I love to speak to family-led business leaders. So today I am in conversation with an amazing woman. We've met each other quite recently. She came all the way from London to exhibit with me at this year's Seeds of Unlimited Success. So that event happened on the 17th of May. We had a brief conversation as we were getting to know each other on the telephone. But even in that conversation, I really loved her warmth and her energy. And then we had another chat online. And she's just such a wonderful woman. So it is a great pleasure to introduce you to Tima Rasekh. I've probably said her surname wrong. I've just checked. Sorry, Tima. I'm terrible with pronouncing names. Oh, where is your name from, my darling? Where
Heritage is Iranian.
Iranian. Oh, lovely. Do you know, as I look at your beautiful face, you do remind me of the lady that I see in Sherwood, actually, in Nottingham. So, yeah. But you're not in Nottingham.
I'm based in London.
Based in London.
Yeah.
So, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Not a problem. It's such an honor to have an opportunity to connect with you again. And thank you so much for saying yes to being part of our second event that we had about 3 weeks ago now coming up. Before we start reflecting on the day and how everything was for you, just introduce yourself to the audience, please, Tima.
So I'm Tima. I live in London and I've been here most of my life. I have a 5-year-old daughter and I run my own business. I was in education for 14 years. I was a teacher, a mathematics teacher for 14 years. And through my own health conditions and looking for alternative ways of really uplifting my health because I was chronically ill, I changed my water, and as simply as that, it changed my life. And learned so much about the human body that we are over 70% water, and how all the things I was doing correctly was only 30% of the pie. And that's why I wasn't really healing on a true cellular level. And through that, it's also become my business. I educate people about their health, holistically healing their bodies, literally by changing their water. They get to change their lives. And at the same time, I get to be a more present person in life, whether that's for me, for my surroundings, for my family, or for my child. And my life has changed 180 degrees, all for the better. And I couldn't have it any other way.
Well, a couple of things I want to go back on there. Maths teacher, how incredible.
Yes, I am a mathematician by education.
Yeah, well, no, I've got something to say about that. So I have, well, not now because I left, but I was previously working at the University of Nottingham in the School of Mathematical Sciences. And I was working there when I was pregnant with my youngest son. And I can remember touching my stomach like a lot and saying, even speaking to the mathematicians and saying, oh, you know, the fact that I'm hanging around with you, does that mean that my little baby's going to be good at maths? You know, and I've seen all of sort of maths all over the place and everything. And my son is really good at maths.
Good.
Very, very good at maths. So I love to make that connection. In terms of water, I just have plain water in this bottle, but I must say that when I tasted your water, I mean, I don't know what you did to it, but it was absolutely delicious. I was like, this is water? The texture, I can't even describe it. So I purposely, deliberately, I haven't put anything in. I normally sometimes put an aloe vera concentrate, which is good for digestive health, in my bottle. I purposely put nothing in today because I just wanted to be in this moment of truth to say to Tima, this plain water that came from Co-op, I think it was, hasn't got a pinch on what you gave us when you exhibited in Nottingham. So I don't know if you want to describe.
Yes, I would
what
love
was it?
So, this is, I mean, you're getting me hooked now. So not all water is created equally. Unfortunately, a lot of people drink tap water because they're of the belief that tap water is safe, and tap water isn't safe.
No,
firstly, it goes through
I do not.
very dirty pipes. It's full of everything.
I know.
Parasites, pesticides, chemicals, birth control, even
Oh, get off it. Get off it. Yeah.
Tap water. So unfortunately, tap water is not fit for human consumption. Not to drink it, not to bathe in it, not to even cook in it. So what you're doing is you're boiling potato. All of that chlorine is actually going into your potato. Now, the alternative is a lot of people are buying bottled water. And Forbes came out with a study in 2024, last March.
Oh, don't tell me. I think I know what you're going to say. Go on, say it anyway.
Bottled water, unfortunately, is full of microplastics. Microplastics are carcinogens. They're forever chemicals. They sit in your liver.
Oh, no.
And, this is not here. I'm not here to.
I know, because we're all trying our best, but what you're actually doing is taking our education to the next level.
When you know better, you do better.
Exactly.
So bottled water is actually not a better alternative, given that there's a lot of different companies, not to drop names here, who are going to court and being sued for the fact that they're literally just bottling tap water and selling it.
I've heard of that, and I thought that's what you were going to say.
Yes. So even if it is, let's say, spring water or filtered water, spring water is only beneficial at the source, not when it's bottled. So, and then you add the microplastic to it. So it's not an alternative. It's unfortunately, and I will talk about the statistics of health a little bit. Again, when you know better, you do better. Education is such an important part. A lot of people are looking to up level their health because we as a generation, we've never been so ill. And they just don't know where to start. It's very overwhelming when you're looking at the holistic world and looking at supplements and this and that. It can be so incredibly overwhelming. But when you learn that you are over 70% water, your blood is 90% water.
Yeah.
When you take care of 70% of the pie, again, nothing is magic. No one's handing over a magic pill. And my story is that I was doing everything right, whether it was from the proper eating and making sure I'm using the right oils and this and that. I wasn't even consuming sodas, and I was having the best filtered water. I even did my research on different filters and which ones filter out what, and I was using a very incredibly expensive filter, and I was still not getting better. So I'm not here to say there is a magic pill for anything. I'm saying this is a magic piece of your pie, and it's a beautiful place to start, because water's never going to go out of fashion. The next goji berry pudding might, right? But the reality is water is never going to go out of fashion. We have to drink water. So if you have to drink water, you might as well drink something that's incredibly potent for your body. So now going back to, okay, I've told you tap water and bottled water are not beneficial. What is it we really should be doing? At the least, everyone should be filtering their water with a really good filter. Now, that itself opens up a whole discussion of what different filters we have and which one's good, and if it should be just one of these pictures. And again, if that's what you're doing, again, to anyone, it's great, but when you know better, you do better. The pictures, having a Brita filter is better than using tap water. But the reality is, even Brita, because they all get lab tested, Brita doesn't, or any other company, by the way, again, I'm not here to drop names, and I shouldn't have said that. Some of the filters, they don't filter out everything. So when I say filter, I would love for everyone to invest in a really good filtration system where they're getting all the contaminants out. But what I brought to the exhibition and what I drink is not just filtered water. It is water that has been firstly filtered and then activated. So it's a two-step process. What does activation mean? So before I even go towards what the activation is, I want to give you a little bit of understanding how healing works in the body.
Well, Tima, but actually, can you? I think we're going to weave some of that conversation into the conversation, because, as I said to you before, this conversation, you were at the event, so that was the spark of the Seeds community. So what I do on the podcast is actually speak to individuals like yourself and get you to give us your examples around the acronym of Seeds.
Okay.
So the first S is standing for a supportive network. Now, what you're doing within your business, I know that you must be surrounded by like-minded individuals who are giving you information and sharing their story and things like that. So did you want to maybe weave that conversation in what you was going to tell us around the first S, which is the supportive network?
So I would, but the supportive network is important for anyone in any walk of life, and no matter what they do, whether they're an entrepreneur or not. And as an entrepreneur, entrepreneurship is a very lonely journey. It requires deep work into who you are. I am the business. That is the reality. Although, yes, I am partnered with a company that is selling a medical grade device. But when someone buys through me versus someone else, they're buying because of me and my energetic. So I am the business. So as I said, in entrepreneurship can be very lonely because you're doing a lot of self-work and becoming a better version of yourself. But thankfully, I have an incredibly amazing community that I'm surrounded with. Incredibly like-minded, health-focused, of service to other people. And that itself has helped a lot. Has helped in the past 2 years. It's helped me grow so much because you want to be connected with people who understand the vision and the mission and know that the first roadblock doesn't mean you give up. And it's been, so as I said, it's been huge for me, but the takeaway I would like for people to be is no matter what you're doing, surround yourself with people who are like-minded. Scientifically, it's proven that we become the average of the five closest people. If you're surrounding yourself with people who have incredibly different visions than you, you will never, ever, ever be able to out energy that. So there you go.
Excellent. So in terms of going back to your story and what you were saying when you were suffering from the chronic illness, who actually introduced you to is it a water filter system that you're describing?
It's a medical water ionizer system.
Okay, an ionizer.
Which I'll explain in a bit.
Okay. So who introduced you to that then?
So who introduced me is my now business mentor, who her name is Carly Brown. And she found this water through her own cancer healing journey, holistic cancer healing. Her doctor talked about it, where hydration is so incredibly important. And she was drinking a very good reverse osmosis water where she was putting back in all the minerals and so on and so forth. But she didn't know about this water. So I learned through her and
Oh, wow. So obviously she's a healing journey. She okay? Everything okay with her? Yeah,
she's
brilliant.
Cancer-free, healed.
Brilliant.
Child, like the most beautiful, inspiring life that's come out of it.
Excellent. So as I said before, thank you so much for, I've just kicked the table. Thank you so much for coming to Nottingham. Obviously you met lots of different people at that event. Do you want to give our listeners and our viewers some feedback from your experience of being in the room? And obviously you were giving us samples of your amazing water.
I really enjoyed, and firstly I would love to thank you for having me there. I really enjoyed being there. What my take was on is just being, again, going very similar to the first S that we described, is the being surrounded by like-minded people. There were different businesses, people would, had different businesses and different services, but everyone was of the same vibration and of the same energy. And just being in that space, I felt very held. I felt it was just a beautiful day. And for me to be there and help people understand how they can elevate their health, that's always a mission. I never ever take it lightly that I am given that platform in any place to talk to people about how they can elevate their health. And it was just great, just being there, hearing people's stories, how I can implement their stories into my life, how just by communicating to someone who wants to, live a better life and be of service. And that's what I found, that everyone there was like that. And it was very, very beautiful.
Oh, thank you. And now we're going to talk about, well, before I move on to E for emotional well-being, I know I said, I sent my apologies privately to you last week, but I know that through being in the room in Nottingham, you've then come into the Love Entrepreneurs community. So Love Entrepreneurs is in alignment with Silvertree, and Silvertree was the headline sponsor for this year's event. So last week you were giving your presentation for Love Entrepreneurs. Unfortunately, I missed it because I got the time wrong. But as I said to you, I ended up spending time with my son at the family event that was just up the road. The reason why it ties into the E for emotional well-being is because, to be quite honest with you, Tima, with my son, he enjoyed himself. We did some arts and crafts. He was literally in awe of the other activities. And then I started doing arts and crafts. And even, I don't know what time span it was, whether it was 10 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever it was, I actually in that moment said, wow, I really needed this moment. I really needed to connect with my own energy, with my own emotion through this opportunity to, I don't even know what I've done. I think it's downstairs, but to colour in felt tip on wood. And on this beautiful butterfly that I can just use these pens and put beads. And then this is something we're going to hang in the garden. I needed that. So I do realize as well that for me, I am constantly wanting to give and give and give. But as I've said to other people, if we don't make sure that our own cup has been topped up, obviously with beautiful water, something healing and energetic, then how can we give to others? So we can't pour from an empty cup is what I'm describing there. So for yourself, let's talk about emotional well-being and what that looks like for you in your life, please, Tima.
That's a really good question. And it's one that one can ponder on a lot. And emotional well-being, you're right. And it may sound cliche, but you have to put that mask on yourself before you put it on anyone else. And I found that as a mother at one point in my life, when my daughter was very young, I found that I was just giving. And I hit a place where I was incredibly hit by postpartum, incredibly hit. So not only I was physically very unwell, I found myself saying out loud that I don't want to be anymore. Mm-hmm. And when a mother hits a point like that, it can be, and for me, it was a very massive wake-up call. And I take my emotional well-being very seriously now, because taking care of myself is not selfish. It's the most selfless thing I can do. And I have come to learn that, and I've come to really love that. Do I love, and not to say every day I wake up at 4 a.m. There was a season I did, because I was building something. But as women, we are also very cyclical. So when I wake up, do I enjoy waking up at 4 a.m.? Yes and no. But do I love the person I've become after I've poured into myself through all the different modalities I have? Mm-hmm. Yes. So emotional well-being for me is entangled with emotional and physical. Yeah. You have to have a healthy vessel. Like it is your temple. Your vessel is so important to take care of. And for me, it really took hitting rock bottom emotionally and physically to understand that this is not life. And I went from being the most bubbly person I was the girl who would dance in the shop when the music would come on, to the most sad and very upset. And I had lost myself. And I just had an out of body experience going, well, this isn't me. And it took me to hit that rock bottom emotionally and physically. And emotional well-being for me, as I said, it's entangled with physical well-being, and it's a top tier. If I'm labeling tiers in my life, my emotional and physical well-being becomes a top above everything, even motherhood. Because then once that is I've poured in and it's 100, or maybe not 100, but it's as maximum as it can be, then the rest of my life, whether it's my business, whether it's my child, whether it's my community, they get poured into from a place of overflow.
Yeah.
And we don't talk about emotional well-being so much. And it's we can talk about how sad it is, but really I want my story to empower people so that they don't have to hit a rock bottom and realize, hang on. And a lot of people unfortunately do, and the human mind can work like that, where you physically and emotionally have to hit a rock bottom. But how about it doesn't? And then how about like raising children? I raise my daughter very differently now. I tell her like saying no is a full answer.
Mm-hmm.
It's a full answer, and it's very, very incredibly important for me. And I'm very careful with that boundary in my life now. And I had to learn it. I had to learn it personally myself, and as an adult, how to do that.
Wow, well, that was so powerful what you shared there. And thank you for being open and honest about your journey as a mother, because as I explained to you when we did our backstage chat, that, last week was not a good week for me because, I was dealing with the reality of my own mother's postpartum. Well, it started off as in the 1970s, they called it the baby blues. But, my mum's got a very serious mental health condition, which unfortunately she is going through that at the moment again. So they call it an episode with her particular condition. And so for some mothers, and the reason why I'm relating it back, because apparently I was the trigger. So when I arrived in the world, it was like her mental health went somewhere else. But anyway, it's one of those things where she's had to live with this condition for her whole life. And because of my mum's experience, even I'm not ashamed to say that when I was pregnant with my first daughter, I actually went to the psychiatrist to get early support, to say to the psychiatrist, look, this has happened to my mum. Is there a chance that I could go through that? And the psychiatrist herself, I think I maybe had 2 sessions with her. And she said, based on what you've told me, I think you're okay. And at that stage, I was going through a very tough period of my life. I was literally more or less homeless. My life was not in a good place. So in terms of the physical challenges, the reality of life challenges I was facing as a young mother, and I was set to be a single mother. So my daughter's dad was not in the picture at all. Just describing what I was going through, the psychiatrist said, no, from what you said, you're okay. And thank God, I was okay. But, for me, not only am I an emotional fitness coach, so that's something that I specialize in and bring into my healing practice, but obviously I have to then apply that into my own life. So as you said, it comes first. I've done my daily walk. I was texting you from the gym because it's important for me to know that I have spent that time on me. It's like putting on your armor. That's how I see it as well. It's part of my protection. My emotional fitness is part of my energetic protection. How am I going to show up for my son, for my family? I mean, if anybody has experience of a relative going through mental health, you will understand what I mean when they're in a different state, and the things that can be said to you that are coming from a loved one is very, very difficult. So again, if you don't have those, you spoke about yourself, emotional boundaries, healthy boundaries, that can be something that can pull you under quite quickly. So thank you so much for your honesty on that. And just to say to anybody, whether it's a woman or a man going through any form of mental health condition, You may feel sad. You may have a diagnosis of a mental health condition. I'm not a mental health specialist, but please do seek help with a professional, or if you wanted to reach out with somebody like myself who supports around emotional well-being, please feel that you can do that. Do not keep your mental health situation to yourself. It's so important that we're just open about this conversation. Tima, you don't understand. For me, growing up, I didn't feel comfortable speaking about my mum's mental health because I felt people were teasing me, and it was something that people were mocking her for. So I'm glad that we're in a better place now where people are able to speak about it. Okay, so let's move on to the second E, which is around enterprise development. So tell me a bit more about your business, Tima. For example, how long have you been in business? Is this your first business? Did you do anything else before? I know you said you was a maths teacher, but have you had an entrepreneurial spirit growing up?
This is a really interesting question. So this is my first business. I was always employed prior to this. And there was always this itch that I'm kind of not built for this. And I would get actually, before I say that, I don't know if you're aware of the human design. And when I learned about my own human design, I was like, a lot of this makes sense. I'm a manifester.
Oh yeah, I think I'm a generating manifester, I think.
And when I learned about my spirit and how I don't like being told to do stuff, and truly the quickest way to piss me off is to talk at me and tell me to do stuff, and how I'm always wanting. It made sense that I just wanted out of that world. Did I set out to start my own business? No, I didn't. But my story is that when I was as I said at the beginning, when I was very ill and I found this water, I also learned that there was a business model attached to it. And I invested in a water ionizer, a medical grade water ionizer. And I knew about the business. I joined our business platform, but I was going through an upheaval of my own life at the time. And I wasn't able to pour into the business as much as I would have liked to. So I was still at my teaching job. I was dealing with my own life matters. I was going through a very messy divorce that needed all of my attention. It was my child, my day job, and the divorce proceedings. I had to pour into that, but I kept, and this is the beautiful part for myself, was that I kept myself in that community of entrepreneurs. And that changed a lot of my mindset, because I also had to change my mindset going through the upheaval of my life that I was going through. And then I had a massive, very early in the process, I had the massive wake up call that if I do want to live the life that I've always wanted to, I am not going to be able to do that as a single solo parent on a teacher's salary. And many years ago, I was very open with myself that if I ever have to leave teaching, as much as I genuinely enjoyed doing it and pouring into my students and being of service, I would have left. For me, it was very important not to do something for just money. I remember even being at university and my friends were like, you're just not built to go into the city. It's just not you. And I was never drawn into something that for me didn't feel like being of service for me. And when I learned about our business model, how I can genuinely pour into people and be of service, given the fact that I was also seeing a lot of students in the process of 14 years of teaching becoming more ill, and I could just see my students becoming more ill, more doctor appointments they have to go to, and more of this and that, I realized that I have a tool in my hand now that I can be of service in a different way. On top of the fact that it will give me so many of the things that I'm looking for, whether it's time freedom, financial freedom, time to pour into myself. And that is when I decided to fully go into this with all my heart. So it's been about 6 months now that this is all I do.
Wow.
And that I've been drinking the water for about 2.5 years.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, did I plan to be an entrepreneur? No, it kind of found me. Would I have it any other way? No. I love the process. I love the becoming. I love the learning. And I am a very different person. You would not recognize me. I don't even look the same. I don't speak the same. I don't dress the same as the person I was 2-3 years ago. And it's a genuine honor to be living in this world, in this era, and being able to like grow the way we can.
Well, you've got a wonderful spirit. I really love your vibration and your energy. I want to take another sip of water, but I think, well, what am I drinking? I might not. But anyway, listen. Oh, here he is. I thought we might just have a little. Oh, hi, darling. Yeah. Do you want to go downstairs to Daddy? No, he's never actually been in on a live stream, but here he is. So, Tima, what I'm going to do, I'm going to set you off on the next question, if that's okay, while I encourage Santa to go back downstairs. So can you tell us a little bit more about empowerment and how what you're doing is empowering others, please?
I want a phone.
Okay, that's a lovely question. So I'm just going to repeat that question back to you. Is that what I'm doing is empowering other people? My way of life would be what empowers other people. I can't stand for something if I don't have it myself. And my whole mission is to empower people through the way I change, through my own life story, through what I genuinely hold in my heart, and also education, to tell you my story and to give you tools that you may not have even known that were available to you. So that's how I would love to empower everyone around me. So I believe Vanessa has, oh, bless you.
Okay, I knew that would happen one day on a live stream, but you know, this is the reality of, oh, I've lost my mic. This is the reality of working from home and home ed as well. So we're a home educating family. So Zenta, he spends the first half of his day with his dad, he's so good at maths, honestly. And his dad does get him to do certain things. And I just stand there in awe and think, okay, he didn't get the maths from me. I'm just going to be honest. I'm a creative. And I know that maths is creative, and I loved being around mathematicians when they actually helped me to understand about numbers and how everything's about numbers. And I'm totally in love with numbers, but it's not my natural gift, even though I've worked with data a lot. But anyway, let's talk about mindset. I love that, what you were saying about the mindset shift, because my personal career journey has found me starting off within the voluntary sector, then moving into the public sector, doing some paid work within the community sector, then coming into the private sector as an entrepreneur. And also I've had experience with social enterprise as well, which is in between. So I've touched base with all of the different sectors, but I do feel that for those who've maybe come from a public sector background, who are used to having a salary, not necessarily having that appreciation of putting it bluntly, if you don't work, you don't eat. You know, that's what entrepreneurship's about. Okay, we're solving problems and all the rest of it, but you need to get paid for your worth. I just want you to kind of touch a little bit more about the mindset, particularly for anybody who's listening in, they might not be in the public sector, but they may be thinking about stepping into entrepreneurship and feeling a little bit nervous about that. What advice would you give for them there, please?
Thank you for that question. It's a really beautiful question. So what advice would I give to someone who's potentially thinking of stepping into entrepreneurship around mindset? And I would say, if you can be brutally honest with yourself, you'll be okay. And what I mean by that is everything in your life that happened or happens, you are the only common denominator. And that can be very saddening, and that can be very empowering. And even if you can't hear this now, then you may need to mull it over. But if you can take that and be empowered by it, then come and join the entrepreneurship world, because it's genuinely the most beautiful, for me, has been the most beautiful journey. Everything in my life now, I'm like, what am I being to attract that? And again, entrepreneurship, they always say 80% self-development, 20% outside work. So if you really want to be the best badass version of yourself, and you're happy to take genuine ownership about yourself, then go for it. And I know entrepreneurship is not for everyone. I know this. Entrepreneurship is not for everyone, and I can genuinely honor that for everyone. But if you're thinking, I want to be an entrepreneur, I don't have an idea, I don't know this, like it's really not 100% what's happening on the outside. It's 80% on the inside. And the money comes after you do all the work. So not to have this, also another mindset is not to have this vision that the second I become an entrepreneur, which through whichever avenue, you're going to make your millions. The reason why majority of people don't succeed through entrepreneurship is in the ugly middle. So you have this like just beginning when you're like so ignorant, you have no idea, you're so happy, you start something and you're rushing. And towards the end, when you're seeing results, it's also really happy. But the majority is the middle, where you're doing the work. And it is so ugly and boring, and a lot of people give up. But if you can maintain that, and that's why, going back to community, being surrounded by like-minded people is vital. If you're surrounded by someone who has no idea, and first of all, you never take advice from someone who doesn't have the life you want. If you won't swap lives with them, you don't take advice or criticism from them. But a lot of people give up. I read in a book very recently that, I'm probably going to get the numbers wrong, but I'll give you the gist of it. The bamboo takes, if not yet, I think 6 years under the soil to actually build and grow. And within like 6 weeks, it will grow, I don't even know how many feet. Are you willing to have that huge chunk at the below, where on the outside world, no one's seeing?
No one sees it. Yeah.
But you're seeing success in who you are. Yeah. And then the outside world, people are not going to cheer you. One other thing, and I'll stop, is, are you also okay to be your own biggest cheerleader? Yes. People only cheer for you when they see success, and they're not going to be there when they don't see it on the outside world. But again, it's not an outside thing. It's an 80% internal. But if any of that lands, go for it. You have nothing to lose.
Well, you are such a wise woman, Tima, because, you know, everything that you said, I totally agreed with. And the other analogy and description that we've seen is about the iceberg as well, that people do not see what's happening underneath the ice. And I totally agree with you. You know, there is also the picture of, I think it's 6 feet away from gold, where you see the man digging with the axe, and is that the right tool anyway for him to use? And he wants to give up, but he didn't see that if he just hung on in there a little bit more, he was going to get the victory. So I loved everything that you said there. And also be honest with yourself. You have to have that check-in, which actually takes us nicely to the D, which is around discussion and accountability. So I want to talk about accountability first, because that really ties into what you said about being honest with yourself. Whether you are happy or sad with the decisions that you've made in your life, you are the co-creator of your life. So you have to have that honest check-in with yourself. Your reality is what you have created. So accountability is something that is built into the Seeds community. I've always worked from a position of gentle accountability. So I'm not like standing there hitting people over the head or anything like that, but it's very much like kind of nudge. It might be a text. It might be something that I've posted. It might be the deeper, more structured conversation that I'm having within a one-to-one or a group session. But accountability is key. So did you want to expand on that a little bit more?
Yes. And going back, did you say the D for decisions?
Discussion, but I like this. I like decisions. No, brilliant. I'm going to write it down. Thank you.
I know in a lot of entrepreneurship platforms or anything you do, you have like an accountability buddy. And I love that. I love the idea of it. But I don't think accountability comes from the outside. I think it comes from the inside. And you can frankly get very annoyed from your accountability buddy and want to fling them the bird if from the inside you are not motivated. I prefer motivation over accountability. And the one thing that gives you motivation is really, for me, has always been a very game changer. What I am doing today, what is my return on investment in 1 year, 2 years, 5 years? Because I've noticed that a lot of people, and again, we have this notion of an easy life. It is the biggest lie and scam anyone could be told, that there is no such thing as an easy life. You choose your hard. So what you are doing today, what is your return on investment in 5 years' time? And if you were to do a different thing, what is your return on investment in 5 years' time? And I think that would be probably the biggest nugget I can just give when it comes to accountability, being accountable. Because like being unhealthy and in pain and like broke,
exactly,
all of that is painful.
It's painful. So, like you said, choose your heart. Do you want the happy way, or do you want to carry on going through that pain? I love that. But yeah, look, I've written down decisions because the decisions are important. I spoke to a lot of people about coming to the event, being part of the event, but I can already see that those of you who took the decision to be in that room, I can see how things are moving for you, and I'm not even part of that. So going back to the Love Entrepreneurs community, also Ilari, she did the session about how people can get funding in their business. She shared really high level information with us that is not out on the internet, if you get what I mean. So for those who were in that room, I know not everybody was on the session that we recorded, but it is recorded again. It's there for the community to have access to. That conversation alone, if you listen to what Ilari is saying about how you can create multiple businesses and get funding in your business in a way that people are not thinking about, that is going to create an incredible shift in working mums and dads' lives and make a difference for their family. Like you said, things don't happen straight away, but if you're willing to make the decision to take the action, stay on track, as you said, what's the return on investment over a period of time? Your future self will thank you for that decision. So I love
the day you plant the seed is not the day you see the blossom or the bloom.
Exactly. Which again, this conversation's unfolding so beautifully. We're now talking about succession planning. So, as I said to you before, and you've touched on it anyway, in terms of what are you doing today, which is going to help the future you and your daughter and your family in many years to come. So if you wanted to expand on that one there, please.
I love this one because it can easily just go down the path of talking about what money I will be leaving for her. And for me, it's not that. I know that it's more than that. What I am doing to pass on to my daughter, and if I have any children in the future, or her children, or actually it doesn't even have to be my own blood, it's the community, is becoming, and to not sound like a broken record, the best version of myself. And that entails doing emotional healing, breaking generational trauma, looking at my true, why on a soul level, why I'm here. And as a consequence, I remember reading this many years ago when I was pregnant, how is the best way to be a parent? And I was always read that the best parent you can be is to work on yourself.
Yes.
And now I am literally the walking, breathing version of that, because I've become that. And through that, what I'm leaving for my child, and then to then have a ripple effect into generations after that through whoever she touches, is giving her guide, not putting anything on her that doesn't belong to her, and helping her, giving her this platform of, becoming the best version of herself, to know that no one here is an accident. We are literally walking, breathing miracles on earth.
Yes, definitely.
When we walk around thinking we're an accident, how are we going to serve? How are we going to serve? You can never, ever serve anyone from the unhealthy place or a broke place or just a sad place. So when I'm able to give her those tools, I know for a fact in my whole body that this will have an amazing ripple effect. Now, if money is important, I think we should talk about money. I think it becomes one of those topics that's like, oh my God, did she say money? Money is important. We live in a world that we cannot literally have a roof over our heads or do anything if we don't have money. Now, it's also important to understand money is an energetic exchange. Mm-hmm. We don't even physically touch money that much anymore. It's like it's just a number.
Yes, exactly. Right? Yeah.
And what am I doing to do that? And that was, again, another one of those wake-up calls for me, because I was giving my time, sending her to breakfast club and after school club so that I can go teach, and then see her maybe for 1 hour after school before we do bedtime, and then maybe in 50 years' time, I get a pension that is not even going to serve me. And I realized I'm not even going to be a nice mommy. I'm not even I don't even have the energy. It's no working 20 years for a crappy pension that's not even going to feed you properly. Again, that's mindset, which we discuss. Everything links. I had to change the mindset. Like 97% of people don't go into entrepreneurship. It's like,
let's be honest, it's not for everyone. No.
Outside of that. And the business that I am building, thankfully, the business model we have has generational income that can be is willable to your children and their children. And I want to leave that for her. I want her to have an abundant life so that she can flourish as a human being, whether she wants to take on my way of what I'm doing as a business or her own thing. And that's, I just wanted to touch upon that because I didn't want to leave it without talking about money, because it is important. And we are here to live an abundant life.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. I was just listening to Regan Hillier on my walk today. And, she's completely right when she talks about the soul. When we've arrived here, we are abundant. It's all the conditioning that we go through that actually distorts our view of ourself and our soul journey. So I loved everything that you were saying there. But I do have a little note for myself here where I do like to touch on spiritual growth. And I think the things that you said, I'm kind of guided to just want to ask you a few questions around that, because you're a very wise woman. I can feel it in your vibration. So is there anything that you wanted to end this conversation with, which is more around the soul journey and how that ties into us having this human experience where if we choose to be in business, that's what we're doing, and how that impacts us as women and mothers? I know that was quite a big question, but I know that your soul will be able to decode what I've just said.
I am trying to. May I ask you to repeat that?
So I'm really talking about the soul journey now and the fact that we're having a human experience, okay? So I can just feel that from what you've said, you are aware with how your soul has led you to be where you are. So is there anything that you just wanted to talk about, how the soul is connected to us as mothers, working mothers in business? The question's probably come out wrong now because I was probably just waffling a little bit before.
No. So what I'm hearing is what is the connection between the soul, or maybe what I think about the soul and the body?
Yeah, I think it goes back to the decisions that we've been making. So it's the soul journey, isn't it?
Well, yes.
So the soul's having a human experience through us, but maybe I'm talking about how once we start working on ourselves, we start that activation process and we realize that we can become more than maybe we're told that we are. Okay, so even I can hear with yourself, you're an educated woman, you've been in the public sector as a maths teacher, but your soul was crying out for you to become more than you already were, which for a lot of people, you were a high status woman being a maths teacher. But what is it about the soul journey that's yearned for this becoming? You've stepped into another aspect of yourself.
It's a very beautiful and very deep question.
I know. Sorry, I'm so deep.
No,
It's probably for my other podcast.
you have nothing to apologize for, and I've had to mull it over here, just sitting here. And I think I can only speak from my own experience, and that's what I will be sharing.
That's what I want. Yes.
What put me down that path was first taking care of my health. We get nudges in our body. You know how people say like gut feeling?
Yes, exactly.
Your soul speaks to you. Look, it doesn't bang the door open. It's the slightest knock. And for me, it started from physical health, complete physical health. And then learning that I'm just not a physical body. I'm actually more. And it just opened up doors of me. And I just love learning. I have an incredible thirst for knowledge, but not just like I just want it, like, tell me more. I want to learn about more because I have this thirst of becoming better. For me, maybe one of my biggest fears is ignorance. Like, oh my God, I feel that. And that was it. And I think funnily enough, we've just had a full cycle here.
Back to the physical.
And again, because you have to have a healthy vessel for your soul to come back and for it to speak to you and for you to actually even start that journey. And starting the journey becomes a physical. And this is why I love what I do. And I wasn't able to get into the details of what molecular hydrogen water is, but I love what I do because I give people this huge tool that they can just get better here so that they can come back to who they were and bring that back into themselves, whether mothers or not, whether women or men. And as women, I mean, as mothers, that's a whole nother story, but but that was more of a general.
Well, basically, Tima, I think this conversation has been so beautiful because as I shared in the talk that I ended the summit with, we are living on the planes of existence. Yes, the physical plane, we are here. We have the emotional plane, we have the mental plane, but we have the spiritual plane. And I think that's why my soul wanted to tap in to what was your position on that, because I can feel your energy. So yes, you have got such a wonderful product. I'm drinking this water and I'm just like, every time I'm drinking, I was like, it doesn't taste like what I tasted, whatever Tima gave me. But where can people find you so that you can give them more details about what you do? And I don't know if you do sampling or if they have to come to see you in London. I don't know how that works. But if somebody wanted to find out more about why am I raving about this water, how do they get in contact with you?
The best way is to email me. So my email is rasekh.tima@gmail.com. That's rasekh.tima@gmail.com, Tima. And I'm more active on, you can find me on LinkedIn, but I'm not very active, which is Tima Rasekh. But the best way is either email or to find me on Instagram. I am Tima Rasekh. And that's where I share my own journey in life. And then that's the best way for me to just reach out and be like, Tima, I want to learn more about the water. And if they're local, they're more than welcome to come and get some samples of me.
Oh, wow. And I would definitely advise, if you are local to Tima, and, follow her journey, and she can showcase wherever she's going to be doing exhibitions, because she does literally bring gallons of the water with her. So, you can be there with your water bottle and have a good sample of this delicious water, which, it's doing good things for the body as well, which Tima will give you more information on. But Tima, it's been such a fantastic conversation here. You've got so much wisdom. I can't wait to actually do the snippets of our conversation, because I know that you've left so much nuggets with us that I'm eager to share. So thank you so much for not only being here today, but also, as I said, being part of the event, sharing your samples and giving people an opportunity. Because I think, obviously, if we're talking about water, it's something that we need to experience for ourselves. So thank you so much for traveling from London to be part of the
My pleasure.
Is
Thank
there
you for having me.
anything is there anything, any final thoughts you wanted to leave the viewers with
That's
today?
it. Go live your most abundant and beautiful life and take care of the vessel that you have had the gift of being given. It's a gift.
Yes.
It's a true gift to wake up every day and look at the sky and have a physical body that you can actually experience it. So I think it's our duties to take care of ourselves and
Yes.
go live your dreams. Whatever it is, you can have it. And that's what I want to.
Oh, that is so beautiful, because your health is your wealth. So on that note, I'm going to say goodbye to Tima and goodbye to those of you that are listening in. And I'll be back with another episode of Leading with Heart. Next time, I will be speaking to another contributor who was at the event with us, Andrew James Crawford. Will be learning more about how he's helping small business owners like myself and Tima get our numbers right. So that might be a conversation you would appreciate there, Tima, but also he'll be talking to us about business development overall. All right. Thank you so much. And we'll speak to you soon. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.